Hi there, I'm Andrea Garvey, and I just wanted to give you a little overview of the Summer Blooms Art Journaling Workshop. I'm super excited about this upcoming class. This one is a little different than my past workshops on art journaling because I'm actually using watercolors in this one. And we're going to do something a tiny bit different than the others too. We're going to be working in the first half of the class on watercolor, on painting, on doing some floral studies. One of my favorite things to do in my sketchbook is do floral studies. Not your typical sketch. I actually do a lot of these with paint in my brushes. So the first thing you're going to need for the class is you want to grab yourself a little bouquet. I have tons of little bouquets all over the house. So this is my favorite time of year to go and find small bouquets around the garden. Or if you don't have a garden, see if your neighbors have some little flowers, or one of your local grocery stores will for sure have some flowers. But you want to come with just a few because we're going to be using those in the beginning of the class to work on some studies. Don't let that intimidate you. It's going to be amazing. And then I'm going to walk you through my layering process of how I do an art journaling page. You're going to be able to play alongside it with me. You can watch it and then come back to it. Once you buy the class, it's yours forever, including the replay. So you'll be able to go back and pause and keep going and whatever you want to do. But art journaling is one of my favorite things to do. I think I've got sketching and art journaling are the two things that I like to combine them together. But they're both really a practice that I like to do that brings me a lot of joy because I just let things go. I just like block out the day, give myself some time to play. Even if it's just a short amount of time, just being able to play with color and with drawing and with collage and just being lost in the process, that's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. It's not really about the end result. Sometimes I don't even know how the end result's going to look until I'm almost completely done with what I have been working on, because just like some of my paintings, it's all layers. And I think you're going to really, really enjoy this class. And I'm really glad that you'll be able to have 2 hours. It takes about 2 hours, and give yourself the space and freedom to play and create, because that's what it's all about. All right, so I'm going to flip this camera down on the table and I'm going to show you. I'm just looking at my desk. It's such a mess right now, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to be using. All right, let's talk about watercolors. It can be any type of watercolors you want. I have many, many different sets. Let me just open this one and see. I think I got most of these on Amazon, and I'll have links to these. This is under either Prima or Confections. I always forget the name, and I usually get a tropical set. You can see how messy these are. You could also use gouache. You could use a different type of watercolor that's called Kuretake makes these. It's like a half and half of gouache and watercolor. Gouache is just a little bit more opaque than a watercolor, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't at all. And I don't want you to have to go buy any fancy watercolors, because you can get some really good ones like this set, not these stickers, but the set that I got. I think it's like $25. But hopefully you have a set of watercolors around. And if you do have lots of different colors too, just pick the colors that you love. Pick the colors of the flowers in your garden right now. And that's all you need. If you wanted to do this class the way I'm doing it, you can do it in acrylics as well. So you just probably want to have some real fluid acrylics, and you can use just a little extra water to get some of the same effects. So the actual book that I'm using is, let me just put these aside for 1 second, is Ranger Dilutions. And this is a page that I have been working on, just kind of playing around with different things that I've been really, really enjoying, all based on the things that I'm going to be teaching in class. But this is a Ranger Dilutions. I think it's not going to all fit in the camera, but it's about 8 by 8, or 7.5 by 7.5. And I've linked to this art journal too. They also make different sizes. It's a great book. It's really, really good for putting lots of glue down and paper and pen and pencil and paint and everything. So these are one of my favorite types of art journals. But you can bring your journal, or you can just bring some watercolor paper. One of the things that I'd love for you to bring too are some sheets of watercolor paper that are small. So this is just some fun I've been having that we're going to do in class too, just playing around with different watercolor shapes and petal shapes and leaf shapes. I have been crazed in my sketchbook with this sort of idea, and so we're going to be playing around and just really having fun with our brushes and watercolor. So have a few little pieces of watercolor paper that's extra, because we'll be able to glue and cut them out and glue them down as well. Besides your book or watercolor paper and a little extra watercolor paper, I would love you to have a pile of scraps. So I was gifted this little pile of scraps from a sweet woman named Chrissy, who came to my art and my land and sea art retreat last week. And she gave me this pile and I love it. It's like a pile of scrap little bits. We're definitely going to be using these in the class. So grab a little pile. They're really fun to make. I often put them in little containers, so I have them. And then I also want you to look around and see if you have some sort of either old books or old jelly prints that maybe are pulls that you don't want to use anymore, or these are extra from projects. These are great to have as something for us to be able to draw and paint on. These are old books, and I was messing around with drawing on those, even painting on some of them. Postcards to paint on. I want you to think of paper, that different types of paper that you could bring. We are going to do some sketching on top of these. So think like books or music sheets or something that you can collage with. And then what else? Let's see. We are going to be using paint pens. So, grab yourself a few. You don't have to have a ton. Like, what are your favorite colors? And grab them in a paint pen. I also will be using the white Signo ball pen, which I love, and probably my micron pens. So these are archival. That means that I can use water on top of them and they will not smear. And then for the brushes, here's what I'd love for you to have for class, if you can. If you can get a number 8 and a number 6 in a round brush, doesn't matter what kind it is, and maybe a couple small ones, you want to just have your brushes have a rounded top so they're not flat across. And these are really great for when I'm making all my petals. I also love adding little pencil marks. So maybe have a pencil handy. And then for the gluing, you could use glue stick. You could use a Tombow tape. I have been playing around with my gluing, and on this one in particular, I just used Mod Podge, or you can use matte medium. And then you want to just make sure you have a couple crappy brushes to use for the gluing. The other thing I'm going to have in the classroom is a bunch of different flower quotes, because we're going to be doing some lettering. Also in the classroom right now are some downloadable art from me, as well as photos of flowers. So you could have those ready to go and have them cut out if you'd like to use some of those. These are some flowers. This one actually is from a magazine. So you could have magazine flowers. You could have the downloadable sheets printed out in flowers. And we're going to be doing just a ton of different layering, painting, and having fun. I don't want you to have to go spend a lot of money and get a ton of supplies, because you really don't need a ton of stuff. I just want you to look around and see what you have. But it would be really great for you to have at least one, either a 6 or an 8 of these brushes, because then I can show you how to make some really cool brush strokes. And I really am looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see you in the classroom. Okay, bye.